All right, what's up? What's good? What's happening? What it do, baby? You are tuned in to another edition of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. It's your boy Xavier, aka X, aka Zay, joined by my brother from another, Kory Blackshear. Y'all know him as KB. Man, you think that things die down after the football season, KB? And then we're reminded of how much is actually going on in the sports world with Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, the NBA, college sports that are happening. And I know football is the most exciting time of the year for most of us, but I would make an argument that what's going on right now is the busiest time of the year.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only other time that you can make a case for is fall with the baseball playoffs going on, the start of NFL season, basketball season coming around the corner. But yeah, right now you can make that case because of everything that's going on from golf, hockey, basketball, baseball, wrestling. If you want to say wrestling, you got so much going on. It's literally like a plethora of things you could choose from to watch.
You said golf, and I'm laughing at the fact that I didn't mention golf because I just spent the entire day on a golf course for a PGA tournament.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, hey man, it's easy to forget, man, when you had them long days, man. You know, it's Masters season and everything, so it's easy to forget certain things.
it is. But shout out to everybody at the Concession Golf Club in Manatee County. Appreciate all the hospitality everybody showed. And I know that y'all will continue to show it throughout the next couple of days ahead. But I hear you when it comes down to October. The only thing is, I think that football is prioritized so much higher that you probably don't even care about the beginning of basketball and hockey that's getting ready to start up. The only thing that plays a factor is the MLB playoffs. And it's only because it's the MLB playoffs. Even though baseball has done a lot to improve the quality of their game over the past few years, shout out to Rob Manfred. Adam Silver, you need to take some notes on whatever it is that they've been doing to make their product more appealing in the regular season. But football is king, and we all know that. So, yeah, I hear you. There's a lot that happens in October, but college, NFL, college, however you want to splice it, they take precedent. They
They
are
do.
the ones that get the most coverage during that time period. You look at the time period like now, it's kind of split. It's like there is no favorite in terms of who's getting the most coverage right now. Now, maybe that
Mhm.
changes after Saturday with the start of the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, and then look at it like this also. Because you mentioned football in the fall. I mean, I know pretty much your weekend is covered. You got football going on from Thursday pretty much all the way until possibly Monday some nights. Um, well, most nights. So I get it. Major League Baseball playoffs are a whole different monster as well. And look at it from the first round of the playoffs that we're going to have for the NBA this year. I think we're going to have some exciting games, man. I really do. Like, I'm just looking at the outlook of everything, the playing games, from the playing games and everything that's been going on. I think we in store for a hell of a playoffs, to be honest with you. Like, I'm excited more this year than I have for, a couple of years past, just because of like the storylines going into the series. Like, you seeing some real rivalries going on like that people want to see. You getting the KD LeBron matchup. We didn't think we are gonna see it round one, but we got it. You know what I'm saying? Still possibly coming in and saving the Warriors from being out in the play in and getting into the playoffs. I mean, it's a lot going on. So yeah, this is a crazy time right now. But I just tell everybody, enjoy what you're watching while you can, because once we hit that little middle part of the year, like the middle part of the year when we got the drought going on, you gonna really wish that you had these sports to watch, because I'm telling you that summer period. Like, now we got the World Cup this year, so that's the only saving grace for, shout out to all my soccer fans, because World Cup, bro. I'm telling you, if you're not a soccer fan, that is the time to watch. That is the time to watch. Some of the most exciting games you'll see ever. So
As a sports director at a TV station, I can't tell you how true some of the stuff is that you just said. I agree with everything you just said, but 2 points on what you said about football being there in the fall, and you know what your weekend is made up of. Every single Friday night show in the fall that we do, I know it's going to be built around high school football. I know that for a fact. Man, putting these shows together in the spring, don't even get me started on the summer. It's called the dog days of the summer for a reason. Like, there's no high school sports going on. There's no college sports really going on. There's no pro sports really going on. And you can only tell the story of baseball games so many days in a row before there's no more angles that you can really take with it, unless there's something controversial that's going on with the team and things like that. So yes, you are 100% right. Like, everybody asks me all the time, like, you stay so busy, like, you're so busy right now. I'm like, yes, and I'll take it, because I'm busy, one, for the right reasons, and I'm dreading the dog days of the summer that are coming up, when I'm gonna wake up on some days, God willing, wake up on some days, and I don't know what the heck I'm gonna have for TV.
Yeah, like I said, I know what it's like because every year is like only thing I say is like we're fortunate that like the World Cup is coming this year, so we have something to watch. Because I'm telling you, in the middle of summer, that is like the dark days of sports. Like there's literally nothing on. I mean, like if you're a major baseball fan, of course you always have baseball and you know, shout out to baseball, but baseball is carrying the load as far as holding down the sports world for that time period because there's not really much going on. So we basically are, you know, we're looking at like mostly off-season moves depending on what league you're looking at, you know, transfer portal moves. We're looking at off-season moves for the NBA. We're looking at off-season moves that are going on for the NFL. Like it's a lot of stuff that's not necessarily on the field related, but it's stuff going on outside that's gonna, you know, take precedent like for the upcoming season. So those are the things that we're mostly looking at in those like in that summer period after like June. So we're talking about like August. You're looking at like, I mean, unless you covering like guys like
Oh, we good. We good come August. That's
yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
training camp and preseason's underway.
Yeah.
It's that entire month of July where we not good.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, you gotta that's why I say you gotta enjoy what you got right now because you know, we know it's coming. July gonna be here before we know it. Is we talking in April. Guarantee it's not going. We're gonna blink and it's gonna be July before we know it, and then we're gonna be having to watch the Nathan hot dog eating contest as a form of entertainment on
No, I
on
won't
the
be
4th of
doing
July.
that. I won't be doing that. I don't care how bored I get. I won't be doing that. Nope. Mm-mm.
Not even. I ain't gonna
Nope.
lie. I've looked at it before.
Nope.
I looked at it before because, like I told you, man, there's nothing to watch. Like I'm bored. Like luckily you got it. Your favorite team is playing. Like you know, I'm going to a Braves game on 4th of July. One of the best experiences I've had. But some people may not be as fortunate to go to watch a game on the 4th of July. So you know, I
I don't
just
know,
say
man. I'm gonna take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays schedule, and if they play on the 4th of July, that's probably where I'll be. I will not be watching the hot dog eating contest.
say
But
less, say less.
but the NBA play-in games this week, man, they've been they've been great for the most part. I didn't really enjoy Orlando and Philadelphia's game. I'm tell you that right now, and we'll get to them in a moment. But shout out to Charlotte and Miami and Golden State and the Clippers and Phoenix and Portland. Shout out to all of them for giving us entertaining games. We got to start off with what happened on Tuesday night in Charlotte. And I know you're going to have some people out there who are going to say it's just a play in game. Why do people care so much? The crowd was so packed out. And the way they won, they're acting like they just won an NBA championship. Well, for them, it basically is the equivalence of an NBA championship. And I'm not even trying to sound sarcastic by saying that. This is an organization who has not made the playoffs, and they still haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, even though they won their play-in game because they were a part of the 9 and 10 seeds. They have not made the postseason since 2016. I'm not going to go down my ex's history list tonight, but there's a lot of things that have happened in the world and in the sports world since 2016. That's the last time they made the postseason. And when you look at the turnaround that they've had just throughout the course of the season, They started off looking like a dormant team once again. And then in the midway point in January, something just clicked over. We always knew, KB, that they had talent on that team. We knew that Lamelo Ball was talented. Brandon Miller. We knew that they had these guys that were talented. Con Knipple came in and he gave them a burst of energy that I didn't know that he was going to come to the league and have. Because when he was at Duke, I didn't see this. And I'm a Duke fan. So I can really speak to watching him at Duke. I didn't see this. But of course, we know that during that time, that was the Cooper Flag show. And then you look at them making the midseason trade, bringing in a guy like Coby White. And I was skeptical about that because I'm like, that's too many guards on the floor. Where does he fit in? Well, he fit in like a hand in a glove. And he had a big shot on Tuesday night that led to them being able to go to overtime. And LaMelo Ball ultimately hitting the game-winning shot. They take the W 127 to 126. And now we wait to see what happens on Friday.
Yeah, I look at it like this. Either way it goes this year, you got to kind of look at this year for the Charlotte Hornets as encouraging because I think Charles Lee he did a great job this year because like you said, I thought they were gonna be just another garbage year. They were gonna be pretty much one of the same. A lot of young guys, a lot of a lot of skillful players, but I didn't think that they were going to reach these heights. And when I say reach these heights, like you said, you can't like you can laugh at certain things as far as how they were celebrating or how packed out the arena was, but for some teams, getting to the playoffs is like the first step of a rebuild. If you can get to the playoffs, that can kind of jumpstart. Okay, now that we got to the playoffs, now, well, for first off, they need to make sure that they can like next year they should be shooting to get out of the play-in. Then once they get out of the play-in, then you take steps by step just to make sure that you're a solidified playoff team. Similar to what the Hawks did this year. Getting out of the play-in was the number one goal. They avoided the play-in. Now you're in the first round. Now let's see where you can go from there. That's why I think that Charlotte has a lot of talent. From Brandon Miller to Con Knipple to LaMelo Ball to Miles Bridges, they got talent. So we can't sit here and say, and then adding Coby White, I think that helped them a lot. Coby White brought in some shot making. If you saw that play-in game, Coby White, hey man, we wouldn't even be talking about this if Coby White didn't hit that clutch three to tie the game and send it in overtime. So you look at some of the moves that they made, you know what I'm saying? We thought Charlotte. They're not going to do anything this year. So I got to give them credit. Now, the controversy in the game, I completely understand the outrage as far as the LaMelo Ball grabbing Bam's ankle. It was dirty. Whether we want to say, oh, he was just reaching out, it was dirty. He hurt that man, like literally to the point where he couldn't even brace because he was falling back, injured his tailbone, out for the game, and it did significantly. We don't know what would have happened if Bam played the entire game. We don't know. But I do know that is their best player, and so it did significantly wound them, and hurt their chances. Now, Davion Mitchell, he stepped up and had a major game. Yeah, key contributions from Khalil Ware, Andrew Wiggins, he hit some clutch shots. So they got some, they have some good pieces as well over there in Miami. I just think that game right there showed me that, these teams going to fight. They're going to fight to get in. They're going to fight their best to get in. I think that Charlotte has a lot of upside, though. And I think that Charlotte's going to, I know you mentioned the Orlando game earlier. Charlotte's going to give Orlando hell. They are going to give Orlando hell because, like I said, they like to play fast. They like to play up-tempo basketball. They like to push the basketball, get up court. They got a lot of high flyers over there. I think for them, experience really doesn't matter in this situation because of the fact that you are kind of more dangerous. I think it's more dangerous when you don't know, like you don't have anything to lose. Charlotte playing with house money. Orlando, on the other hand, they have everything to lose in this situation. And so I think that Charlotte, if they come in, they play their game, they're going to make it very hard for Orlando to do anything. So I'm looking forward to that game. And for Miami, I mean, another disappointing season. I think that, outside the Jimmy Butler years, you have really nothing to hang your hat on. like you've been a play-in team pretty much for the majority of the 2020 so far, and that's not good. I mean, you haven't been able to attract key free agents. It's just looking, and I still think that Eric Spoelstra is still one of the best coaches in the NBA, but you can't just shrug past that. Like, y'all haven't been good, and y'all been a perennial playing team for the last couple of years. Like, we know you're going to be there. It's only, I think it was I think they said it was a big three of mid that they said every year in the East, we knew who was going to be the playing teams. Y'all weren't terrible enough to miss the play-in, but you weren't good enough to make the playoffs either. So that's where Miami is right now. They have nothing to really like. I think they have some key pieces, but I don't really think they have any type of future right now because they haven't been able to attract anyone.
I'm going to talk about Miami in a moment because I'm going to go deeper in on that. I want to address the whole Lamelo Ball and Bam situation because there's some stuff that needs to be unpacked right there. So Lamelo was asked about this in his post-game press conference. He didn't really take accountability for what happened. He said he was hit in the head. That's what he said. He said he was hit in the head and he didn't really see what happened. And he said he was going to call Bam and he was going to check on him. There was also a question asked about, is it possibly a concussion? He immediately played that off. Bam Adebayo talked a little about this today, and he said that he has not heard from Lamelo, and he said that when he sees Lamelo, they will have a conversation about that. Because this is not the first time that Lamelo Ball has tripped up Bam Adebayo in a basketball game. And the first time he did it is the most blatant form of tripping somebody up that I have ever seen. Like, he literally was looking, and then Bam's walking by, and he literally trips him up by the ankle. That was the first time this happened. It wasn't so blatant this time around, but it still was a dirty play, no doubt about it. The NBA fined him $35,000 today for that. I thought that there was a chance that maybe he could have been suspended for a quarter or a half or something. But since he's such a significant piece to what they do, because had he just been some marginal player, KB, he would not be playing on Friday night. We know that. There are different rules for different folks. To the Miami Heat. It's over. It's over. And it hurts my heart to say that because I'm a big Pat Riley fan. I'm a big fan of what Pat Riley has done for the game of basketball. I'm a big fan of what Pat Riley has meant to the game of basketball. This is over with. It's over. Rouse is officially over the hill, KB. And I didn't know that it would happen like this, but as soon as that game was over with, we heard the same racket that we've been hearing year after year after year. The Miami Heat are going to be looking to attract a superstar in the offseason. Yeah, they've been looking to do that. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the Jimmy Butler years, who knows where the hell this franchise would be right now. Yeah. Ever since LeBron James departed in 2014, this has not really been the Miami Heat that we were accustomed to watching when we were in high school. We, like the Heatles, that was must-see TV. No matter how you felt about the team, that was must-see TV, and you knew that they were always going to be in the championship hunt. And for that 4 straight year period, they were in the finals each year, lost the first one, won the next 2, lost the last one. But they were at least still in the conversation. Remember, they wanted to get Kevin Durant. They failed to do that. They failed to attract any superstar player. Jimmy Butler is a star. I would not classify him as a superstar. He can have superstar moments, but he's a star player. That's what he is. They claim that they're going to be going all in on Giannis. And plan B after that is Kawhi Leonard. It's over, man. So yeah, pack this up, and let's start over.
But you remember, I remember even when Damian Lillard looked at moving on, and Miami was one of his top destinations, if not his top destination. Like, you weren't even able to get him. And the thing is, that kind of makes what Jimmy Butler did so significant, because it's not like that those teams that he dragged to the finals were like supremely talented. Like, they were good. They were made up of a bunch of role players. You had your star. You had a rising star in Bam. Like, Bam was a star, but he was not like like I don't classify Bam and Jimmy in the same type of stardom. Like I think that
KB
Jim,
Bam was an all-star. There
yeah,
are levels that he wasn't on. You have your all-stars, you have your stars, you have your superstars.
yeah. And I think that like if you were to ask Bam to go take over a final series, I don't think he could do that. That's not that. So that's why when I say like there's a real good distinction when I'm talking about the type of stars that Jimmy Butler would be in his Miami days and the type of star that Bam is. It's not the same type of star. I can't get the same type of output from Bam that I could get from Jimmy. It's just two different things. And like you said, outside of those years, you have not been able. And I really do think that there's something to be said about Pat Riley. While he has done a lot of great for the Miami Heat organization, he has also been a big obstacle in the Miami Heat organization as well. Their ability to not attract certain players or not get certain players, and you are in one of the best premier destinations in the entire country, like that tells me that you got people going to like play in places like I'll even use this as an example. If you were a free agent X and you were looking at a place to go play, would you rather go play in Miami or would you rather go play in Minnesota? And this is not me talking about Minnesota, but just from your standpoint, would you rather which one would you rather play? Say you don't know the roster construction, you're just going off of what you know, like which is just basically the destination itself. Where would you rather play basketball and live?
If I'm going based off of just the destination, of course, I'm going to say Miami. Warm weather, all times of year, different things like that. But I'm glad you put that caveat in there that you did because my next question was going to be, what am I searching after? Am I searching after lifestyle or am I searching after what's best for my career? Because if I'm going after what's best for my career, I'm going to Minnesota.
Yeah, but see, then the thing is also I know guys care about their brand a lot. So when you're talking about they're looking at when they look at teams, they're looking at more than just basketball. When you go to people like people that go to like LA, they're not just made like some people are just going looking for places to play basketball. Some are looking to increase their, their brand. They're trying to, get sponsorships. They're looking at acting. They're looking at a bunch of different things that may not even have anything to do with basketball. So the
That's
reason
that, yeah, but I don't want to cut you off, but I do
okay,
have to say this since you brought that up. That's part of the reason why some of these guys also can't get to the mountaintop and win a championship either, though.
very true. Very true. I think that like just going back to the Miami topic, yeah, it is over because, like I said, you had teams that, like, for the longest, we were looking at Miami as just even in their own division, the Southeast Division, the Hawks on lapped you at this point, the Hornets on lapped you at this point. The Magic, even though they're teetering, they're still a better team, I think, than you are overall. And that's not even saying too much. And it's like
On
this
paper, on paper,
on
yes.
paper, on paper. And
But
I'm
when
giving
you
them,
actually watch them play, no,
yeah,
they're about the same.
Yeah, they're about the same. Only reason I was giving them a little bit of edge is because Franz was out for majority. You know, he missed about 40 something games, so I'm just giving them a slight edge, but not by much because I saw what I needed to see the other night. Orlando's terrible. So yeah, that's just what it is. But yeah, I think they had their championship window to at least possibly win one. They missed it. They missed that. That's gone. We can go ahead and move on with that part of it because I don't foresee, unless something drastic happens, I don't foresee Miami even being in championship discussions for the next couple of years. I'll even go just say next half a decade where we won't see Miami anywhere if things remain the same. And
You
I'm talking
brought up
about even
the
from an organization level.
you brought up the Damian Lillard trade stuff, the rumors from a few years ago, going back to 2023. You remember what the biggest hangup was as to why that trade didn't happen, right? Pat Riley did not want to put Tyler Hero in the deal. And Tyler Hero is a good player. But what leap have you seen Tyler Hero take from 2023 to where we are now in 2026?
I think that like it's been so many situations just throughout the NBA where I can say like I am very confused by these like lack of wanting to pull the trigger on certain moves. Like if you even remember Brandon Pozinski deal with Golden State for Lauri Markkanen. Your ability to say like, oh, we don't want to trade him. We want to keep this guy. We believe in this guy. Like sometimes you do need to be criticized for certain moves because it's not saying that the guys you're talking about trading are bad players, but you're talking about not wanting to trade for proven all-stars. You're talking about like we're looking at we don't want to disrupt this, we don't want to disrupt that. I don't understand how you could look at that Tyler Hero situation for Damian Lillard and say at least like what are we talking about? Because at Tyler Hero's peak, he's an all-star. At Damian Lillard's peak, he's a top 2 point guard in the league. He's an all NBA type of caliber player. We talking about a guy that went toe to toe with Steph Curry in the playoffs numerous years and was holding his own. So it's like that's why I'm like kind of baffled. Like y'all are willing to die on this hill, basically like we're gonna stick to our guns. And instead of improving your team, because like I said, you could tell me 2 years ago, if they say, okay, we wanted to move Tyler Hero for Damian Lillard, I couldn't like accept that trade fast enough. That's exactly what I'm like. You aren't because Damian Lillard, he is your closer now at this point. He's your best player. He's your de facto best player on the team. You got Bam, who's a defensive specialist on the team, who's a rim protector. You have some other pieces. Tyler Hero.
And you still would have had Jimmy Butler at that point, too.
Yeah, that actually makes that Denver series more of an interesting thing. Like
this would have been coming after the Denver series.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Going into that 2024 season, part of the reason Damian Lillard didn't work out in Milwaukee is because he never wanted to be there. He wanted to be in Miami. So I refuse to believe that some of the things that we saw happen with him in Milwaukee outside of the injuries, because you can't control that stuff. I refuse to believe that some of the just lack of inspirational basketball it looked like he was putting forward at times would have happened in Miami if he wanted to be there. You don't think that a Miami Heat team with Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, and I'm sure a good cast of role players that at least would complement them well, you don't think they would have gave the Celtics hell in the Eastern Conference?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, like I said, they were giving them hell when it was just Jimmy Butler and Bam. So you telling me you add in, like I said, an all-NBA player? Yeah, I could have seen it. I could have seen you definitely taking out the Celtics.
Which means you probably would have went on to win the NBA championship that year, considering what ended up happening in the Western Conference. You had a Dallas team make it there that really wasn't ready for that stage yet. That really surprised everybody that Dallas made it as far as they did.
Yeah, and with a hobbled Luka Doncic, yeah, I think they would have definitely won. And that's what's the shame is like you didn't pull the trigger, and then you looking at like, okay, so we didn't get the guy that we wanted. But like you said, it's not just Damian Lillard. You struck out on pretty much every major free agent. Every year, I feel like they are just linked to key free agents, but there's no actual aggressive pursuit of these free agents.
What it is, KB, is it has become a nice talking point to talk about the Miami Heat as being a premier destination. And it goes back years, like you said. We talk about, folks who want to go to the Lakers, who want to go to the Knicks, who want to go to the Houston Rockets at one point, and then they would throw the Miami Heat in there. Well, I got news for y'all. The Miami Heat didn't come to any form of prominence until Pat Riley got down there in the mid to late 90s. They do not belong in the same conversation when we're talking NBA stature all time as the Lakers, and dare I say even the New York Knicks, because I know the Knicks have done a lot of losing, at least in the lifetime that you and I have been on this planet, but they're still the New York Knicks. And we saw how much of a sleeping giant that actually was when Carmelo got there. I'm not going to give it all to Jalen Brunson, but when Carmelo got there, especially that 2013 season, we know how the Garden can get to rocking. It's a nice talking point to say that the Miami Heat have these players that are linked to them. Are they even having meetings with these players, though? because you can say that players are linked to, like we heard Kevin Durant is linked potentially to the Miami Heat. Did he even take a meeting with them when he was a free agent in 2016?
Not that I can recall. I don't believe so. And if he did, it wasn't like a very like it didn't gain that much legs on it. I remember it was I think it was between the Warriors, Boston, and I'm trying to think who else.
It
I'm
was the
trying.
Warriors, Boston. OKC was still in the mix somewhat. I
Mhm.
believe the Clippers were actually in consideration for that because at the time they still had Blake and CP and DeAndre, and they had the cap space to be able to add him in there.
Mhm. That would have been interesting. That would have been very interesting.
But
But
you want to
yeah,
know, but you want to know the moment I believe that ultimately did the Miami Heat into all the star players around the league.
what's that?
Because you talk about some of the moments that Pat Riley's had, you have to be careful how you treat your stars. You have to be careful how you treat your superstars, your loyal superstars, your people who have been willing to sacrifice for the greater good of the team. How Dwayne Wade ended up leaving in 2016, we know that he never should have put on a Chicago Bulls or a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform. I know he came back to end his career, but he should have been a Miami Heat lifer all the way through. I think that moment soured a lot of folks around the league, and it's still having lingering effects till this day.
Yeah, like you said, and who knows what that would have done for as far as like your pitch to other free agents as far as like Dwayne Wade being the one that can go out and help you recruit stars. Like who knows what that would have done, but yeah, that definitely was one of those. Like it feel like a fever dream. Like you look back and you be like certain things just don't look right. Certain guys just don't look right in certain uniforms. Like I understand he from Chicago, but it was like he was synonymous with the city of Miami. So I
The
didn't
only
really.
time that Dwayne Wade to Chicago should have happened is when they were talking about it as a possibility during that 2010 free agency, when he was still D Wade. That's the only time at that point that that should have even remotely happened. It should not have happened in 2016. So yeah, man, it's time for the Miami Heat to just blow this thing up and end it. And listen, I got to talk about one other point that happened in this game too. Eric Spoelstra is still a great coach, but he did not have a great moment at the end of this game. Khalil Ware collected 5 blocks in this game. Do you realize that on the play that Lamelo Ball drove to the basket to score the game-winning basket, Khalil Ware was not even on the floor?
Yeah, I noticed that, and then I noticed also that they allow Jaime Jaquez to guard him one on one with no like real rotation. Because, like I said, if Bam is not going to be in the game, don't you think you need to have some rim protector in there at least to help like protect against the drive? They're going at the rim. Like if we'll live with them taking a contested three, but if they're gonna go at the rim, you have to have your rotations in order. You have to be able to come over and have a shot blocker. Like because the only way you allow someone like Jaime Jaquez to go one on one with a guy with a guy as shifty as Lamelo is if you got that rim protection behind him. But since you didn't have that, it really didn't make sense. So yeah, I think if Spoelstra had that back, he would definitely have Khalil Ware inserted into the game. But yeah, I think that it ended the way it needed to because, like I said, a hobbled Miami team because we don't even think that I'm not even sure Bam would even played against Orlando, but I didn't like the chances either way it went. So I think that it went the way it needed to. Like I said, Miami had their chances because, like I said, Davion Mitchell he made a lot of plays late. He showed that he can get downhill. He showed that he can make some clutch shots from the perimeter. So I think that it was a hard fought game. Somebody had to lose. I think that the team who should have won. But like I said, Miami had their chances to close the door, not just in overtime, but also in the regulation period. Like they had their chances. Like you can't give a team that many opportunities, especially I think that they like you even look at it. Con Nipple, he was a non-factor in this game.
Yeah, he did not play well.
Yeah, and it could have been a lot of things as the reason why he didn't play well. If you think about it, Lamelo didn't necessarily. I know Lamelo ended it with 30, but he did
No,
not
he did
shoot
not
well.
shoot the ball well at
He
all.
shot terrible. But I think it's his play style that's also the reason why he's like a shot chucker. He plays kind of like backyard basketball in a way to me. Like he plays kind of like the same way he's been playing all throughout his life. Like from when he played in high school to when he was overseas, he has a lot of flair. It's nice to look at. Doesn't necessarily mean it leads to the results that you're looking for because I saw the way he was like. Sometimes I was looking at him like, man, you got to pass the ball, brother. Like this ain't it. You shot chucking at this point.
I agree with you on that, but he's so talented that it can make up for some of those flaws and deficiencies. And let me just say this too. Let us thank whoever it is that we get down on our knees and pray to that the Golden State Warriors were stupid in the 2020 draft and took James Wiseman instead of taking Lamelo Ball and putting him next to Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, some guys who would have, if he's playing with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, some champions, stars in the league, guys who I know he would have came in and respected. He doesn't play as recklessly as he does. And I think if he was alongside Steph Curry right now, we would be looking at LaMelo truly as one of the best players in the league because he's got that type of talent. But since you brought up his play style, I want to pose this question to you really quickly before we move on to the next game. Do you see a world, because Charlotte's got all these pieces now, and nobody said this yet, but hey, shout out to Michael Jordan, man, because he picked most of these players. He picked Miles Bridges. He picked LaMelo Ball. He picked Brandon Miller. Now, he's not there to see this to fruition now, and we're always going to remember most of his all-time legacy as an NBA owner as an absolute tire fire, but shout out to him because he picked those players, and look at what they're turning into now. But with all of the talent that they have, and as reckless as his play style is, you cannot win a championship with somebody like that as your best player playing that recklessly. Do you see a world where Charlotte might actually trade him within the next year or so?
So I know that he was like, they were looking to trade him at one point earlier this season. But I think that there is a possibility because if this is like the height of where you're going to be at for the next coming years, I look at it like a contender to go and make a play for a guy like LaMelo because, like I said, it's all like you just said. Also, it's all about putting him around the right guys. You put him around the right type of vets, he can't play his way. He can't play that same style of basketball. But on that team, he's allowed to because it's nothing but young guys. You got a few vets here and there, but like it's nothing but young guys on that team. So you're allowed to play open free basketball like that. And it's kind of like, well, trial by fire. We'll learn by doing it. But when you go to a team like with a Steph, with a LeBron, or with some of these guys that have got some, skin in the game that have actually played meaningful basketball late into the season, no, we're not cool with you chucking up a shot with 16 seconds on the shot clock and we ain't really got into our sets yet. You can't do that. Like it looks cool, it looks good for the young kids that like watch basketball for like, what I'm saying, that care all about the bag, but it's not good when you're talking about trying to win a championship. Like I don't want my point guard doing that. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people that used to be critical of Trae Young coming up and shooting 30 footers. It's cool when it goes in, but when it doesn't go in, you just completely, wasted a possession. And so I look at it like, yeah, I can see them trading them. I think that it helped that they had the success they did in the second half of the season to kind of bring his trade value back up because at one point, you know, it wasn't that high. It wasn't as high as it used to be when people were saying like, "Hey, LaMelo, you're an all-star now." Like we looking at trading for a guy like that to bring in and possibly be the point guard of our of the future.
You got
But
to have some winning intangibles.
yeah, you do. And like I said, I think that them getting to the position that they're in now, it helped because like now it's just like, okay, we can see that y'all are making strides. Now we need to see more. Like I would love to see them get into the playoffs and see if they can push Detroit. Just push them. Like give them like I want to see if they can actually beat the Magic. And then if they get into the playoffs, can they give Detroit some problems. That I don't think you can beat Detroit by any means, but I just want to see, can you give them some problems? Can you be a leader, and can you help galvanize this team and help show them, like, give them some, like, something to look forward to? I'm sorry, like, for like next season and the next couple of seasons. Like, that's what tell me like LaMelo is ready to be on another team and like play, like I said, championship basketball. Because right now it's good, but I don't see him as a championship. Like, if he's your best player, I don't see you winning a championship at all. Like, I don't
I
even
don't
see it.
either. But when it comes to the team as a whole, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of potential there. But I'm having a hard time deciphering one thing because I made this mistake already. I made this mistake in 2023 with the Sacramento Kings when I thought, okay, they look a little like the 2013 Warriors, only to find out that they were not that at all. A lot of that is because of organization dysfunction, but they didn't turn out to be that at all. I'm having a hard time deciphering with this Charlotte team. Are you closer to what the 2013 Warriors were when they were much younger, true babyface assassin Steph Curry, very young Klay Thompson, barely even in the lineup at this point, Draymond Green, until towards the end of the season when Mark Jackson was giving him opportunities? Or are you closer to the 2023 Kings? I'm having a hard time deciphering that when it comes to these teams because honestly, you really don't know unless time just continues to go on and they just continue to develop and you see ultimately what they were. I'll give you another one. Are they close to what OKC was in 2010 going into 2011? Or are they possibly a version of, and I don't want to bring this up because I know you're going to sour on this. Are they possibly like the 2015 Hawks that had a bunch of talented players out there who could just play well with each other, but there was really no true superstar for real? Because I don't classify anybody on that team yet as a superstar. And the guy who honestly has superstar potential to me, believe it or not, is Brandon Miller. If Brandon Miller continues to develop his game, he's got the total package right there to do that. So I'm just having a hard time deciphering on who exactly I believe they're going to be closer to in the long run. But I wish them all the best. That was an electric crowd out there on Tuesday. And honestly, it was nice to see something for the first time that I haven't seen in a decade when it comes to Charlotte actually playing meaningful basketball.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to figure out like what type of team this is. Like I said, it's a lot of young guys, and I think that they gotta establish a culture down there. Like, what are y'all gonna be? Are y'all just gonna play like highlight basketball, or are y'all actually trying to like what are your aspirations? Because like it is now that you've gotten a taste of what it's like to be in the playing game. Like, now you possibly got a chance to get in as the eighth seed. Like, now it's kind of like building. Like, even with OKC, the young OKC days, like, we always saw like, man, these guys put it together. They gonna give somebody hell. We always seen with them. We saw it with some other teams. Like, but it's gonna be one of those things where we're gonna look at it like, time will tell. I think, like I said, I think Charles Lee, he deserves a lot of credit. No, he won't get the same type of national media credit as far as like coach of the year, but he did a great job this year, man. I can't lie, because like I said, them guys were dead in the water. When you talking about like prior to the All Star break, nobody really cared. Like, nobody cared. Like, we only talked about Charlotte if something bad happened. We didn't really talk about Charlotte in a positive light, because there was nothing positive to speak of. They weren't playing meaningful basketball. I'm saying, with some of the legal issues of like Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges over the years, like, it wasn't like we had much to talk about. But I do think that their maturity is going to show a lot, like, of how they develop over the years. Like, because it's cool being that team that likes to scrap and everything like that. But can you hone it in, and can you still like win games? Like, we talked about, like, off camera, we talked about like them in Detroit, how they have a real disdain for them, for each other, like how they don't like each other. But the difference is Detroit's winning. They're winning. They're number one seed type of winning. Like they're not just scraping by. Like they took their lumps and bumps like a couple years ago. Cade said, "We ain't this bad. We're not that bad. We're not this bad." And what did? They drafted well. They attracted free agents to come in. They made moves that made them what they are now. So I think that they could follow a similar blueprint, possibly, but I think that time is going to tell on that aspect. But like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do tomorrow night against the Magic. I think that's going to be a pretty, action-packed game, and I think that, we'll see what happens. But I think that whoever gets in, they're going to be more than deserving. But I don't like either one's chances if they do get in. So
I'm with you on that. This is not going to go on very long, but there was a second game that happened that night. The Portland Trailblazers, Phoenix Suns. It was an electrifying basketball game for the most part. But Denny Avdia is here, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who he is, you better get used to seeing the name. He took a huge, gigantic leap this year. He's been in the league since 2020, but he was on those god awful Washington Wizards. They didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know how to develop him, like they don't know how to develop most players over there. And got to Portland in a situation where, even though they've been down for the past few years, we know that the Blazers have been trying to win games. They've been trying to build some type of winning culture over there. They have new owners now. And even beyond, now, obviously, this season is what it is. I don't see them going beyond 5 games in the series with the San Antonio Spurs, but I'm questioning, are they quietly a sneaky championship contender next year, KB? And I say that because there is a secret weapon that's been sitting over there on that bench all season, recovering from an Achilles injury, who doesn't have to come back and put everything on his back like he did before.
yeah, man, like he got a fan of me. Then he did his thing. I think it was not just the like his ability to draw fouls, but also make shots. Like that ISO that he did towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, at the top of the key against Jordan Goodwin, man, had him on skates, finished with contact. He was getting a bucket literally any way that you wanted. But I gotta stop speaking on Portland for a second. I gotta say something about Devin Booker because it literally pissed me off. It pissed me off because, bro, you got a chance on your home floor. You have championship, at least you have playoff experience. You probably have some of the most playoff experience out of anybody on the floor that night, especially in that fourth quarter. You cannot play like that. You were playing like somebody who was either scared, who looked like he was afraid of the moment. All I know is that was just bad hoops. That was bad hoops in that fourth quarter. That second half, I'll even say that in general. That second half was bad, brother. Like you, I don't know, bro. Like I said, for a guy that has the experience level that you do, you can't play like that.
He's got the experience level, but did you find yourself instantly going back to, man, if Chris Paul hadn't came to this team in 2021?
Oh yeah, yeah. You'd have just been putting up more empty stats. You'd have just been what you were was a guy that he's cool. He's cool. Then
Remember, KB, this is the same Devin Booker. Because this is some stuff. I'm laughing because this happened to me on 2K. This happened to me on 2K12. I'm going back now. I was drafted by the Charlotte Bobcats, and I was a shooting guard, and I scored 63 points in a game, and we still lost by 20 points. As soon as that game was over with, I went and demanded the trade immediately. I didn't care where I was being traded, but that's what happened. I bring that up because this isn't what Devin Booker did as a result of his high scoring performance, but this is the same Devin Booker who scored 70 points in a game and they lost by double digits.
yeah, man. Like, and I remember those days, man. Like Devin Booker was just like I said, he was another young guy that was just putting up empty stats. Finally gets a true point guard, and he gets a great head coach at Monty Williams at the time, and you know they reach heights that they never reached before, and they never reached those heights again. That was that, and I say like you were 2 wins away from a finals, from a win being an NBA champion, and now you're struggling to get out of the play-in. Like it just shows that teams gotta capitalize on the moments that they have.
And it was a perfectly constructed team that they had in 2021 too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you look at the guys that are no longer on that team, no Chris Paul, no Cam Johnson, no DeAndre Ayton, a host of others that are no longer on that team.
Mikal Bridges was basically their Draymond Green.
Yes, yes. And you look at those guys, I mean, be honest, they're in better situations now. Outside of Chris Paul, you got DeAndre Ayton, he's on the third seed in the West. I mean, he may not have had a great individual season, but he was on a better situation than being in Phoenix. You look at Cam Johnson, who's on the Nuggets, they're looking to try to get back into the championship window. And then you look at like guys like I think it's just like this. I think like guys like Devin Booker, he has always kind of for me been like the same type of player. He's not has he taken leaps? Yeah. But every time I see a game like that, it shows me, oh, this is what we got to deal with. Like
he's taking statistical leaps, yes.
but he's pretty much for me the same player.
Yeah.
He's like the same player. I don't really look at him and be like, man, that is a leap. He took a leap defensively. Like, yeah, he's added a few things to his offensive repertoire that I could say, like, yeah, he's a better offensive player than he was like young Devin Booker. He's more patient now. He can get to his spot. He's working out in the mid range, out of sometimes in the low post. But for the most part, he's the same player to me. And if you're Phoenix, you got to figure out like if we go out, because there's a very good chance that y'all can get stomped out tomorrow night against the Warriors because Steph coming in hot. They ride momentum from coming back against the Clippers. There's a very good chance that you came in as as a 7th seed and you could walk out with no playoff spot. That's
He's
crazy.
gonna get another year though, KB, and I'm gonna tell you why. Coming
Go
into
ahead.
the year, the Suns were only projected to win about 30 games. They over exceeded those expectations. So you're gonna get at least another year.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, but like I don't see this team really like where they are now is exactly where I would put them even next year. Even with the Jalen Green having more games under his belt, I still don't really see much from
Oh, I
this team.
agree with you 100% on that. I'm just saying he's going to get another year just based off of the fact that they over exceeded expectations. Even though the person who should be credited the most for that player wise, I know folks are probably going to find this to be unbelievable, but it's Dillon Brooks. Because if you look at everywhere that Dillon Brooks has gone, the teams have improved. Houston was in a much better situation last year when they had Dillon Brooks than they are this year with Kevin Durant. Memphis has not been the same since Dillon Brooks departed from that locker room.
Yeah, because they lost something culture-wise too. And I think Dillon Brooks, him having his best statistical year, it showed that I think that's more of the reason why they are in the play, like even in the running for the playoffs. Because if he does not have the year that he had, who do you go to as your second option? Because like you said, Jalen Green he missed a good portion of games early in the season to where like there wasn't even a chance to build that chemistry with the rest of the team. So who would have been your second option? Gillespie or Colin Gillespie? Is that how you say his name? Like
it is, but if that is indeed the option, we're not talking about the Phoenix Suns even being in this conversation at all right now. No disrespect to Colin Gillespie, but the truth is just the truth. But since you did bring up the possibility of them possibly looking to need to maybe move on from Devin Booker, what does a trade package for him even look like at this point?
He's lost value. He's lost value as well. I think that his trade value is not as high like as it was, because like I said, when you looked at Devin Booker coming off of that championship run, I think that was the max his value was at. Like that was the highest it was going to be at because, like I said, he looked like best shooting guard in the game at that point. But like I said, now you don't look at him in the same light because you got Anthony Edwards out there who has definitely made his claim to being the best shooting guard in the NBA. Then you look at it like, okay, well, if he's not the best shooting guard, then where do you put him? You got other guys that can make cases that we've done more than Devin Booker as of late. So I don't know, man. Like it's tough to say, but I don't know if his value is just is like screaming. Like I feel like right now, if you were to roll out a package for Devin Booker and you were asking for multiple first round picks,
You're
every
not
team,
getting that.
yeah, you're not getting that, and a lot of teams will go and hang up. Now, what they say, you may get a pick, you may get because, like they said, Luka didn't even get that much as far as like draft capital for himself. Like, so if you're
We
looking at
got
it,
we got to consider that that was totally different
yeah,
circumstances, though.
that was some career suicide stuff right there from Nico Harrison, but completely different situation. You're right, but when you're talking about, you're not getting those picks. You're not getting those picks. If anything, you may get a host of role players, and if you're Phoenix, you might just be like, well, we just want to like start over. We want to do a hard rebuild and let's just get it over with and rip the
I'm
band-aid.
gonna throw a team at you that honestly could possibly look to go in that direction, and they actually have the young capital to be able to pull this off. Not necessarily giving up the draft picks, but they have some interesting young pieces. If the Utah Jazz were to possibly get on the phone with the Phoenix Suns and say we'll throw young Ace Bailey into the deal, because I don't know how much of a believer they actually are in him, because I was expecting him to have a better statistical season than he did. It was a disappointment. He's young. He can still grow. We'll throw a young Ace Bailey into the deal. Do you consider throwing Lauri Markkanen into the deal? Because I don't think he's going to be the face of the Jazz going forward. They might keep him, but he's not going to be the face of the franchise. This is an immensely talented player we're talking about with Lauri Markkanen. Like, we honestly are still trying to figure out, why didn't the Warriors make that trade to put him beside Steph Curry? They'd be in a much better seat than they are right now. I can guarantee you that. Do you throw in a Walker Kessler? Possibly. See, Utah has some interesting young pieces that could honestly swing that and make that happen. Now, would he go there and change life in Utah? Would it be a pendulum shift? That part I don't know. But I'm just trying to think realistically, if there was going to be a Devin Booker trade down the line in the near future, who makes sense? And a team like Utah that has interesting young players who can still be developed more, that's just about where I'm at with it. You can't really go too far beyond that, but that's pretty much where I am.
I just think that it's just for him. If he's talking about like he wants to play winning basketball, like I mean, when you talk about the organization is going to do whatever they got to do. I do think that the organization will try to do right by him though, just because of what he's contributed to them. Even though they've been bad outside of the CP3 years, like they've been bad. I do think they would try to do like those pieces do make sense. Like because when you're talking about Utah, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, Isaiah Collier, you're talking about Ace Bailey. They got some guys that can hoop. They're just young. They're just young. So and then you even got like he would go over there, and I guess he would probably join like a guy like Jaren Jackson. You know, it would be something over there. I don't know how competitive because it would be depending on what they give up. As to like you bring in a Devin Booker, you can make something shake. You can make something happen with him and Jaren Jackson, but it depends on who you retain in that trade package.
Well, see, part of you brought up the winning factor. See, part of this is me hoping that Devin Booker would take this challenge personally and say, I'm going to be the guy that's going to elevate us to being a much better basketball team. Maybe he has that in him, maybe he doesn't. But that's what I'm depending on when I look at something like that. And just in terms of teams that could trade for him and Phoenix could actually get something in return. Other than that, I think they stuck like Chuck with him. Even if
Yeah.
they wanted to move him, I think they're stuck unless they're willing to take a deal that would not be up to their expectations.
Yeah, definitely. I think they are stuck because, like I said, I don't think the package that they'll receive is going to be sufficient to what they're trying to do for their future. Because, like I said, in the name of the game now, like yeah, we want some role players, but we want that draft capital. And if we can't get multiple first round picks for our franchise star, the guy who's been who's been a mainstay on our team, then I don't see them, wanting to make much of a deal. I think that they will literally try to do anything. Like I think even right now they're looking at it. If they go out tomorrow night and they lose, yeah, he's gonna have one more year, but I guarantee you the rumors are going to start up as of next season. They're going to start up. Are you happy in Phoenix? The what's going to be his future as far as Phoenix goes? Those rumors are going to start up, whether anything happens or not. They're going to at least like become like something that where there used to be no traction. There's going to be some traction because there are going to be some teams that are willing to like, okay, at worst, what is he top 3 shooting guard in the game right now? At
Well,
worst,
if you're talking about contenders, he would be a really, I would say at this point, maybe depending on the superstar that you pair him alongside, maybe he could be your second option.
yeah. He got to
He's
be the
definitely he's
he got to
definitely
be the number two.
he definitely would be a great third option.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
number two, depending on the superstar that you put him beside, though.
yeah. But you got to put him. But like you said, it has to be the right superstar, and I'm talking about a dominant superstar to the point where if that's your number two, oh, you're gonna have hell because like, and I'm not saying this would happen. I'm just saying like if you were to put him beside like a guy like Jokic, that would be something that would like get me excited. But like that's why you say it has to be the right superstar. You can't have a guy where it be like a 1A, 1B type of situation because we need to know this is the de facto number one. He can be because like I said, if that's your third option, you got a hell of a team you're rolling out. If that is your third option, if Devin Booker is your third option, you rolling out a team that can go toe to toe with anybody because if he's part of a big three and he's your third option at shooting guard, I mean, yeah, your possibilities are endless. But like I said, I think that he would make a good duo with a couple of teams. But like I said, they have to be some type of contender because I could honestly say I don't see him at this stage of his career wanting to go back to what it was where he was when he first got to Phoenix, where it was just a bunch of meaningless basketball. Go out there and hoop. We know we're not gonna win, but I just don't see him going to a losing situation and wanting to be there because, like I said, once you got into the mountaintop, it's hard to go back. Once you get up to first class, it's hard to go back to to sitting in regular seats. Like it's hard.
It
So
is, but I'm gonna just say this because we already kind of alluded to this. Not before long, you're going to possibly hear within the next year that Devin Booker is linked to the Miami Heat. And there's nothing that's going to end up happening with that. But still, just thought I would throw that out there as a nice little jokey joke. To close out this segment, though, I want to say one thing because there is one person in Portland who we have not mentioned at all. And no matter what ends up happening in this first round, they need to make sure that they keep him around. And that is Tiago Splitter. He has earned that head coaching job.
man, to come in like with all the circumstances surrounding Chauncey Billups and the investigations that went on, hey man, my hats off to him. Just for even them to be in the play-in was a lot. That was a big deal. But man, to get them to the 7th seed, I don't really care how the season ends for them. They got to, like you said, he earned that, and they actually look like they're having fun playing basketball up there. They actually like you didn't know what to make of them. Like I said, the Scoot Henderson thing to this point, you still don't. Was he worth the number 2 pick? I mean, debatable. You gonna wait and see on that one, but yeah,
KB, you may have not known what to make out of it. I'm gonna tell you
no,
what I
I know
made
what to
out of
make
it.
out of it. I
They
know
did
what to
not
make out of it.
enjoy playing basketball with Chauncey Billups as their head coach. They looked miserable out there with him.
Yeah, and now you talking about you got guys. Like I said, man, they got some pieces on that team because Shaden Sharp, hey man, that boy can hoop. Donovan Clingan, you know what I'm saying? So the future looks very bright for them. Like I said, them getting all of this experience right now. Like I said, they playing with house money right now. They nobody thought they were going to be where in the position they are.
Not to mention the fact that they still have good draft capital going forward too.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So you look at everything that they're building there. How can you not be excited for what Portland's like doing? So that's why I say Tiago Splitter, for what he did, taking over in the circumstances that he did, you gotta give him that head coaching position. Like, he earned that.
And if they don't, somebody else is.
Yeah, for sure. But I would hope that they wouldn't let him leave the building knowing that he basically turned this whole thing around, because I don't know if they would have been in this position. With everything that was going on, I don't think that they would have been in this position. And it's very likely to say that he helped save them.
Well, one place that's going to be looking for a new head coach, and this is going to take us to our quick hitters, and that's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. Doc Rivers announcing on Sunday that he will not return as the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, and I'm sure KB was at the crib doing his praise dance on Sunday when this news dropped, because he has been waiting for this day.
Hey, man. Man, I almost threw something on the grill. Man, I was happy, man. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, y'all. If you don't know, I promise y'all, I'm just not this. I got, I'm as big a hater as anybody else, but I really was like very proud that they made this move, for the simple fact that the fact that he should have never been there in the first place. I stand 10 toes on that until I'm blue in the face. Doc Rivers should have never been given the head coaching job for the Milwaukee Bucks, for the simple fact that Adrian Griffin should have never been fired as the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. We've said this numerous times on this show. He was unjustly fired. He still has not spoken about that to this day. Doc Rivers, as much as people want to, ride that 2008 championship, man, that was 18 years ago, bro. 2 more years, we're gonna be approaching 20 years. Like, man, we don't even.
Yeah. My young cousins that were born that year, they're gonna be graduating high school in a couple of months. That was
listen,
that was the last time Doc hoisted a trophy.
Listen, man, I can't say this enough. This is what needed to happen, because, like I said, the situation in Milwaukee is a mess. From the team meetings to the Giannis trade requests that were like seemingly had traction, then hadn't traction, then it came back up again. Like, I'm glad it's over, because right now it's a circus in Milwaukee. They need to kind of salvage something. Who's going to be the next head coach of them? I don't know.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't care.
I don't care, because, like I said, until that Giannis saga is over, it doesn't really matter at this point. Like, that is the biggest cloud over that franchise right now, because you don't know what's going to happen with your franchise guy. So until that figures itself out, until that settles, we don't care who's going to be the head coach. Like, and I'm not going to start throwing out names, because literally, like I said, it don't matter right now. Their roster construction is terrible. They have no real idea what they're going to get with Giannis. So does it matter? Not to me, it doesn't. So, yeah. And do they even have their first round pick?
I don't believe they do.
So yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't care. But yeah, I'm definitely glad that Doc Rivers is, going to spend time with the grandkids, doing what he got to do. Yeah, I wish he would have figured this out a while ago, but hey, man, never better late than never. So yeah, I sent you a meme pretty much showing how happy I was that happened. I'm not even a Bucks fan, so Bucks fans, y'all can stop crying now. It's finally over. The dictator is finally gone.
Yeah, but like you said, they got bigger fish to fry. They got bigger problems to worry about, and that is solving the Giannis situation, and then hoping that your organization can do something to at least get you back on the right track. You're not going to be a championship contender for a good long time now, probably, but can we at least get you back on the right track? We'll see. In the WNBA, man, we started to see some seven-figure contracts rolling out last week. Well deserved there for the ladies, but Aja Wilson, a 3-year, $5 million Supermax contract with the Aces. Well earned, well deserved. Yes, this was absolutely the right move.
If they could pay her more, she definitely is earned every little bit of money.
Yes.
Like $5 million is still not even enough for what you could pay her. The best player in the game, pretty much most of her career. So I'm gonna say like she's worth more if you want my honest opinion. Like she is that girl, man. Like
Totally agree.
she can hoop.
To the NFL now, Dexter Lawrence and the New York Giants, they appear to be at an impasse when it comes down to his contract. And if they cannot agree to terms on that, he wants to be traded. Who's going to end up trading for him? Listen, I don't know. But what I do know is that he is one of the biggest impact players at his position, one of the most important positions in the NFL, being a defensive lineman, especially a defensive tackle.
Hey, listen, I always say, man, what one person won't do, somebody else definitely will. And it's a lot of teams that could use a presence on that interior line. They could definitely use a guy like Dexter Lawrence who's going to cause havoc. Because one thing I could say about the Giants, they had working was their defensive line. From their edge rushers to their interior linemen, that was not a problem on their team. So if you are looking at, bolstering up that interior, beefing up that interior, hey, I'm on the phone right now with the Giants, and I don't care who it is. Unless you got an all-pro right there in on the inside, I'm making that call. I'm making that call.
That's what makes next week's NFL draft so interesting, because they got a top 5 pick, and all projections say they're going to take Sonny Styles, a linebacker. Now, I don't think this is going to end up happening, but if David Bailey is on that board for them at number 5, how do they pass that up?
I don't know how they could, but I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. Could you see a situation where he could be possibly traded on draft night?
If David Bailey's on the board, sure.
Hey, well, y'all heard it here, man. Like, it's gonna be interesting come draft night. I feel like we're gonna see some more play out with this situation, but I don't think it's over by a long shot.
Oh no, I don't think so. And John Harbaugh he's also come out and said that he wants to make sure that they keep Dexter Lawrence.
I'm sure he did say that.
John Mara is going to try to do everything possible to keep John Harbaugh happy as long as they are in this honeymoon phase of him as the head coach of the team. I don't think he's going anywhere for the time being right now. But if David Bailey's on that board, it makes for a very interesting situation, because you're not bringing David Bailey in to sit on the bench. You have to move him at that point, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, you're not bringing him. You don't make a move that high unless you're looking at a day one starter. So yeah, I think if they do decide to go that direction, Dexter Lawrence is going to get possibly, if someone makes the right offer that night, they'll move him that night.
Well, we got a wrestling quick hitter that we got to get to. There was a moment that happened on the It Is What It Is podcast, man. And Jey Uso was brought on as a guest. Cameron was not impressed with Jey Uso. Tell him he is not on the level of The Rock. He's not on the level of Roman Reigns. He named all these other people in the NYE family who are here and basically called Jey mid and said that he is not of that standard. Jey took exception to that. Cameron then proceeded to basically berate a producer or somebody in the background for bringing Jey Uso in because he is a WrestleMania Saturday competitor and he wanted a WrestleMania Sunday competitor. Jey Uso is about to bounce. He left. Then he dropped his coat, ran right up to the desk where Cameron was, picked him up like a child, threw him into that desk, and then proceeded to punch him out. I've seen this video a lot today. I've laughed at it every single time. But what I'm laughing at even more are the people that think that this was actually legit what happened. Y'all have never heard of a work. You clearly have never heard of a work. That clearly was a work. I texted you and I said, man, this looks almost identical to that scene in Ballers when The Rock and Terrell Suggs were on that show and then they got to fighting on the show. You expect me to believe that something like that is actually legit and is going to happen? Here's how I know it's a work. There has been nothing that has came out from WWE or any of their insiders or wrestling insiders saying that Jey Uso is going to be penalized or suspended for something like this. If this was real and he really went on there and did that, don't you know that Nick Khan and the people who run that company would have something to say about it? Cameron is probably going to pop up at WrestleMania on Saturday.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing Cameron just get dragged from up top, from out of his seat across that desk to the floor, that was funny. Now, I will say though,
Before you continue, I just got to say this though. He sold that punch well.
I mean, yeah. Like, Cameron, he acted back in the day, like, what I'm saying, don't get it confused. But I think that, anything that wrestling WWE can do to try to get some more excitement, because WrestleMania season, if you remember in years past, even last year, leading up to the main event was that everybody was waiting to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Everybody was waiting to see that. The build up was, better. Like this year, it didn't really have much of a build, and I think a lot of people.
We thought we were going to see The Rock be a part of that,
I
and
ain't
then
gonna
it was
lie,
Travis Scott.
I gave up on that when I saw that. That also pissed me off because I don't like seeing too many celebrities get involved with things, like, because if you're relying on that, that means you're not being able to sell it on your own. Because Travis Scott being there last year literally had me genuinely confused. I did not understand why he was there. Still don't understand why he was there, because long-term storytelling showed that he had no significance outside of him coming out at the main event. He didn't show up for anything else. Same thing with The Rock. He showed up, got John Cena to turn heel, and then basically said, I'm out. So I don't get it. But like I said, part of wrestling has always been the build up for this is the Super Bowl for wrestling. So
Well, it damn sure don't feel like it.
It don't. But especially when you're talking about, I ain't gonna lie, that comment that he made about it while we keep getting all these Saturday night guys, that was kind of funny, because it almost felt like he was saying, like, hey man, why you keep giving me the guys that are like the pre-show? I want the main eventers. And he's like, this guy ain't no main eventer. He wasn't lying though. I mean, shout out to Jey Uso, but he wasn't lying, brother. Yeah. When I'm talking about main eventers, your name don't come up. So, I hope that WrestleMania does go well this year, because, like I said, the build ain't been there. Everything that's used to be there in the past, it ain't been there.
Here's the problem, though, to what you just said. No, he's not a main eventer when you think about it, but it's only like 5 or 6 guys tops who you honestly think are main eventers in this age of WWE. Look, I want to say this before I continue with this. I've only been following when I see things on ESPN or I see things that come across on Twitter. Remember when we came on here and we gave our tribute to John Cena right before he was about to have his last match? And I said, I'm going right out the door with Super Cena. I have not been tuning into this product because I saw how bad they booked his last year. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is shameful. This company doesn't have any real direction with where they're going. But from what I last remember, here are the guys who honestly stand out as people that you honestly might say are main eventers. You got Roman Reigns, you got Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, if you want to put him there. I feel like he's been booked horribly too. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar is honestly just off a name and appeal, not necessarily off of what he can do in the ring anymore, because he has short matches. Now, I have tuned in online to a couple of segments with Trick Williams. Oh, if Trick gets pushed to the moon, they just might get my viewership again. But yeah, man. And I don't know about you, KB, but for me, WrestleMania ain't felt like WrestleMania since the Undertaker streak ended at WrestleMania 30. So honestly, it lost its appeal for me a long time ago.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that, guys that grew up in the Attitude Era, like a lot of stuff that's going on now, seems more on we're not really worried about the wrestling itself. It's more of the entertainment portion of it. I think that, we used to have, like, it's hard going from storylines like The Rock and Austin.
Yeah, but even beyond the storylines, it's hard because you don't have people in the company anymore as these everyday superstars, if you want to call them that, who are synonymous with WrestleMania. We grew up with Undertaker being synonymous with WrestleMania with the streak. We grew up with Shawn Michaels being Mr. WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, I know Roman Reigns has had all these main events. Roman Reigns ain't on the level of Shawn Michaels, man. That if that's these kids, Mr. WrestleMania, I'm sorry, you missed out on having an actual real
But
Mr. WrestleMania.
that is their version of, it's very few WrestleMania main events that a lot of kids grew up on that where he hasn't been there. So for this generation of kids, they may be able to say like they've not witnessed too many WrestleMania main events where he wasn't featured or Cody Rhodes wasn't featured. So those are the guys that they have to look up to. So you're talking about a different level of stardom. Like I said, you growing up in the Attitude Era, the level of stars that were there, you're talking about from even prime Brock Lesnar when he was in his early days. You're talking about I've seen The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Triple H,
You
Kurt
can't
Angle.
forget about. I was about to say you can't forget about the
Oh
man that
no,
won an Olympic gold medal with a broken
Kurt
freaking
Angle,
neck.
Kurt Angle might be top. He might be top two for me. Like as far as just wrestling, and I'm not even talking about WWE Kurt Angle. I'm just talking to Kurt Angle in general. Like that man was, yeah. I ain't gonna call him because I ain't gonna call him what I know him as because he asked people not to call him that. But yeah, Kurt Angle was that guy for me. So we grew up in a whole different era. So my outlook on it might be a little bit different than some people, but I think that hopefully it's a good show. Hopefully the matches live up to the hype. I hope Brock Lesnar, you know what I'm saying, because we don't know if this might be his last WrestleMania. Hopefully he puts on a show against Obafemi. I don't know, but we'll see.
You're rooting for a good show. I'm rooting for some changes to be made. That's what I'm rooting for. Get some people in the creative who actually know what they're doing because these people they don't obviously. All right, look, man, we'll be right back with part two because we got some more NBA play-in stuff that we got to talk about, including a vintage Steph Curry and a vintage Draymond Green game. Yeah, we'll be right back with part two of the Why Not Us, Why Not podcast. X and KB coming at you. We'll be right back.